All right, guys, welcome back in. A little Slaughterhouse Sports here. Kurt Magoosh Sports, what it was formerly called. And today we're going to talk about Oregon. Cannot wait to attack this topic today. Talk about the old Ducks. Talk about Dan Lanning. Talk about this club. So I definitely want to talk about Oregon in the first segment of the show today, and I want to address the question: can Oregon win a national championship this year? And also, the other question is, outside of Oregon, I mean, what organization in college football, which program would you rather be other than Oregon? What programs are on the rise other than the Ducks? And I want you guys to comment below. What other program is going at a trajectory like Oregon's going on? I mean, right now, Dan Lanning, we look at year one, he took over for Mario Cristobal, and he had success in year one. He did. He was able to beat Utah with a banged-up Bo Nix. He killed every team on his schedule. I mean, he killed Stanford. He killed Colorado. They beat UCLA by double digits. I mean, I've watched like every single Oregon game that they've played. I've monitored it. I've monitored the organization really closely. I think that their talent evaluation is fantastic. I think that they hit on a lot of players outside of the in the portal. They've also hit on so many players. That's the thing that I really love about Oregon. I mean, Tez Johnson is a guy who came from Troy. I know that he's related to Bo Nix, but he really is a bona fide, really good Pac-12 receiver. And they hit on a guy. They hit on Tez Johnson. The development of the tight end position with Patrick Herbert, with Terrence Ferguson, has been spectacular. Mateo Ugalangalale is going to be a really good player. I think that Purchase is going to be a really nice player. Jaleel Florence has shown flashes. Bridges. I mean, I just think that Tosh LaPointe and Dan Lanning are getting the most out of this group. I think that they're playing better defense. They're putting pressure on the quarterback. Even though Washington State put up a lot of passing yards, it was very difficult. And a lot of those were Washington State was still inconsistent in their drives. And outside of one quarter against Stanford, I mean, this team has played great all season. Texas Tech was game 2. They weren't playing their best ball. I mean, we could say that, right? That they weren't playing their best against Texas Tech. But I really thought that I really think that Oregon is playing at a level that I'm very appreciative of. I mean, they kill every single team. They don't have a lot of games like Washington had against Arizona State. I would say that the Texas Tech game was maybe it. And then last year, they let one go at Oregon State. So they lost to Georgia, which is understandable. Georgia went on to win the national championship. It was game 1. Then they where else did they play poorly? I mean, Oregon State, they just played poorly. And then in the Holiday Bowl, a lot of guys missed time. They still found a way to beat Drake May in North Carolina. Then we go on to this year. I mean, this year they start off Portland State. They win 80-7. They then barely beat Texas Tech, but then they play Hawaii, and they drag Hawaii and they cover in the game. So they win like 50-7. Then they play Colorado. They smash them. They smash Stanford. This team has just, and even against Washington State, when Cam Ward plays at his best, Oregon still wins going away. They play a bad first half against Washington, and still, I believe they're the better team. I think they're going to play Washington again, and they're the better football team. They're a more complete team. They're going to have a better plan for Penix if they ever played that Washington again. And also, Washington has USC. And then they play at Oregon State. Washington is not beating Oregon State in Corvallis. That's just not going to happen. That's the ultimate game for Oregon State, the last game in the Pac-12. It's not going to happen. All right? So Washington is going to lose a Pac-12 game, maybe 1 or 2, and Oregon's going to beat them. So Oregon's going to be at 12-1. This is assuming that the guys stay healthy, assuming that there's no scandal with the football team. If everything goes smoothly and you get a healthy team with no scandal, you're going to be playing in the Pac-12 championship, and they should go 12-1 and win the Pac-12. That's absolutely what should happen with how good this team is, with how good this coaching staff is. That's what should happen. Now, around college football, Oregon might need a little bit of help. You're going to need maybe Florida State to mess up. You're going to hopefully get LSU beating Alabama. And again, I want Oregon to make the playoff. In the Big Ten is where you're kind of screwed because Ohio State and Michigan, I believe that you could have a bunch of 12-1s, and then is the committee really going to put Oregon over like a 12-1 team that doesn't win the Big Ten championship? So you kind of actually want Michigan to, what do you want? In a perfect world, Penn State beats Michigan and then Ohio State beats Michigan. I don't know if Penn State can beat Michigan now. I mean, Michigan's the one big roadblock in this thing. And if Michigan ends up going on the road and beating Penn State and Michigan's undefeated, Oregon, that would be a team that they would really struggle with is Michigan. Michigan is a complete team, and they've looked unbelievable all year. Michigan has had an amazing, amazing season this year. McCarthy, Jim Harbaugh has built an incredible, incredible football team. The other teams that I would worry about, Florida State has great weapons on offense, and I believe Alabama is actually really good as well. So those are the only teams that I would really worry about as a chance to beat Oregon. I don't think Carson Beck has enough offense. I don't think Georgia's offense is ever going to compete with an Oregon this year. I don't. LSU, I also believe that Oregon would be able to outscore LSU, but LSU's a really good team as well. Texas and Oklahoma, they just haven't looked as rock solid as the Oregon Ducks. So I do believe that Oregon's in this thing for sure. You're going to need a little bit of carnage in the SEC, but I believe that they'll go to Utah, and I'm just projecting it out. I believe that Oregon is right there. And in terms of teams under the best trajectory in the country with Dan Lanning, Tosh Lupoi, they replaced Matt Pallage with, Hampton from Tulane. The coaching staff is phenomenal. I think Marshall Malkow and the GM staff does an incredible job with talent. I am a little bit worried about quarterback after Bo Nix because Bo is so damn good. But in terms of like Bucky Irving, in terms of even hitting on running backs, Whittington, and then Jordan James from Nashville. I mean, Coach Laughlin is the best running backs coach, I would argue, in the country as well. So this team is just really, really fun. I mean, you can't take for granted how solid this team is every single week and how, they prepare and, how they play the game at such a physical level. They are just so consistent every single week, and that's what I really appreciate about Dan Lanning in Oregon. And I really think he's a special coach. I think he's a special person, and I think this team is awesome. So that's kind of the bulk of my video. You can let me know what you guys think. Maybe I'm crazy. Listen, can Utah beat Oregon? Yeah, it could happen because Utah's solid defensively. But I really have confidence in Oregon. Maybe this is the kiss of death. USC setting up to be an absolute massacre too in Eugene. So there you guys go.